Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Today, I'd like to talk about one of the actors that I actually really enjoyed over the years, Bruce Willis. When I was a kid, I used to watch him and Sybil Shepherd on a TV show called Moonlighting. That's where I first came across Bruce Willis, and I actually met him. Well, that's incorrect. Maybe a better way was I got to say hi to him when he was in an airport. I was able to say hi, and I think he was with Demi Moore at the time. It was back sometime in the 90s. Whether he realized I said hi to him or not, I don't know. But I saw him in person. Anyway, so part of what upsets me is that, we so much of the media is about protecting women and protecting various groups and everything else, and, of course, patriarchy, white man, bad. But what's been happening with Bruce Willis over the last couple of years, I didn't even realize until I saw a story from, I think it was Newsweek or Newsmax. But apparently Bruce has been getting exploited over the last couple of years, and they're just using him. They're using him as a cash cow. They're using him. I don't know if it's the family, although they have to be obviously aware of his decline. And I got a couple of articles I want to read. But it kind of disappoints me because it just, again, is another example of you're only worth what you bring to society. You're only worth what you're willing to give of yourself for other people, at least it seems for many men. Men are good. We're sad for them after they've gone to war and saved the country, but then life moves on. Or, the firefighters, the police officers, or whoever's out there protecting us. It's sad to hear, a couple cops lost their lives or firefighters lost their lives or something else happens. But it's very quick to move on, but we put people that are guys that have become women or women that have become men or stunning and brave. These are the people making the headlines. And I think what really first tuned me into this is when I first heard that one of the actors in one movie, I don't even remember what it was, but there was a space movie about an astronaut. And the actor making it made something like, I don't know, $10 or $15 million. And then they compared that to the salary of an actual astronaut that really goes into space. And it was something like, 100 times more than what the actual real astronaut made. And so when you start seeing enough of these stories, you start realizing, something, people don't really care. People don't really care. They only care about what you give and what you provide for society. And the minute you don't, they say it's Peter Pan syndrome and men aren't growing up, or men aren't stepping up to the plate, or men aren't providing, or men aren't giving enough. Well, Bruce Willis gave until he can't give anymore, and then they started to exploit him for it. So the story I first saw that kind of brought this to light was from Newsmax. Razzies rescind Bruce Willis's Worst Performance Award. So the Razzie Awards has rescinded its 2021 award for Worst Performance by Bruce Willis. The award show's co-founders, John Wilson and Mo Murphy, announced the news in a statement in the New York Post, saying, after much thought and consideration, the Razzies have made the decision to rescind the Razzie Award given to Bruce Willis due to his recent disclosed diagnosis. Earlier this week, it emerged that Willis will be retiring from acting after being diagnosed with a brain dysphoria disorder, aphasia, a disease that is impacting his cognitive abilities, his family said in a statement on Wednesday. Now, they just said, and his family just said he's retiring, and his family just said it's impacting his cognitive abilities. But they've known about this now for years. And I kind of feel a little bit like maybe they were taking advantage of it. Again, I have no proof of it. I'm not saying that they did or did not. But when it gets to the point where you can no longer act and you can no longer function in public in front of a movie screen or a movie camera, obviously people that care about him and that are close to him know about it because you see it in the everyday life. And I can speak to this firsthand as my father, he had dementia and he had Alzheimer's. And over time, you can see even in the last 5 years or 7 years, I started seeing where he started questioning his decisions, and then he wasn't able to do taxes, and then he'd get confused. And as it went on, he just got more and more confused about things till in the end, you could have a conversation with him, but he might not remember it, or he might not be able to track the logic thoughts. So, here Hollywood was kind of making fun of him, and he's been put in I counted on IMDb, 18 movies in the last 2 years. That's 9 movies a year, and basically all they were using him for is to put him in there for a couple of lines or for a part, and then they'd put him on the poster, and Hollywood used him, the producers used him, the executives used him, the financiers used him. His family certainly doesn't seem to be treating him right. And they go on and say that here's the final statement from his family. To Bruce's amazing supporters, as a family, we wanted to share that our beloved Bruce has been experiencing some health issues and has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. As a result of this, and with much consideration, Bruce is stepping away from the career that has meant so much to him. They say it's really challenging time for our family, and we're appreciative of your love, compassion, and support. We're moving through this as a strong family unit, and wanted to bring his fans wanted to bring his fans in. Oh, okay, because we know how much he means to you, as you do to him. But he's been having this problem for a couple of years, and here's something. This is from March 31st. Again, a recent story, because this has always been on the down low and hush hush to the public. But he struggled with remembering lines, and he fired off a prop gun on a wrong cue while making his final films. So he's been in multiple films where he's been struggling. And they say the story offers a striking account of Willis's final few years as a professional actor. Now, notice they say final few years, during which he made about 22 movies in 4 years, 18 of which were in the last 2. Okay? That's you cannot be putting together good quality. Even as his mental state deteriorated. On Wednesday, March 30th, Willis's family said he would be stepping away. While the Willis family note said the actor had been recently diagnosed with aphasia, the LA Times report suggests his mental decline had long been apparent. His parts were often cut, so he didn't have to spend many days shooting. He reportedly had another actor feed him lines through an earpiece because he struggled to remember dialogue, and sometimes he allegedly seemed confused by his surroundings. 2 crew members on one of Willis's films, on one film Willis worked on, remembered him saying aloud, "I know why you're here, and I know why you're here, but why am I here?" A rep for Willis and his family did not immediately return Rolling Stone's request for comment. Many of Willis's final films were direct-to-video action movies, and often scenes involving guns or action sequences were handled by a body double. But Willis allegedly ended up firing one off on the wrong side of a cue while filming the 2020 movie Hard Kill. So now we're going back 2 years. Of course, it had a blank, but he was supposed to say his line, then fire it, and instead he fired it instead of the line. And they said, the actress that was working with him said, "No big deal, let's reset," and then it happened again. And he's got the earpiece in to get fed lines. So again, when you see that this is happening, you can get an understanding of him being used by Hollywood and others just for his name and his face. As for Willis's professional team, the report states his agents at Creative Arts Agency made sure his contracts were limited to only a couple days of shooting and that he worked no more than 8 hours a day. He reportedly only often stayed for 4. On set, Willis was reportedly accompanied by an entourage that included people like his longtime associate, Stephen J. Eads. Eads was regularly credited as producer on several of Willis's films, often making $200,000 per picture. One Hard Kill crew member said Eads guided Bruce everywhere. He carted him around and kept an eye on him. Directors who worked with Willis in the final years of his career also said the actor had clearly lost his sharpness. So, and somebody said, I don't think he was getting any better. I thought it was worse. After we finished, I said, "I'm done. I'm not going to do any other Bruce Willis movies. I'm relieved that he is taking time off." And from Mother Jones, for years, Hollywood suspected Bruce Willis's deteriorating health. They exploited him anyway. This is a labor issue. The reason why this is important is because Bruce, they're using, or it seems that they used Bruce. They used him for his name, his recognition. They used him on movie posters. Hollywood, no one protected this guy. Everybody just used him until it's so bad and so noticeable that they can't use him any longer. And this is a problem because, again, we see a story about Bruce Willis, but how many other people, and especially guys, how many other guys is this happening to, that they're not getting help, that they're not being protected? Because I'm pretty sure if an actress or, again, some other member of some other community was being exploited, this would be national news. There would probably be new regulations coming out to protect them. I mean, if a woman was deteriorating in her mental health and Hollywood just continued to use her, there'd be an uproar. But this came out here April 1st, here in March, April, and already, like, I had to go digging a little bit to find the stories. It's already a nothing burger. And for a guy that's given, I mean, when I watched him in the TV series, I think it was like mid-'80s. So a guy that's given almost, 40 years to Hollywood, and they just throw him away because they feel he no longer has anything to offer. How many other, I mean, this is just another example of how men are viewed. And again, I know it's happening to everyday guys, but not everybody is writing an article about everyday guys. But it's important to know. It's important to see this. From Mother Jones, it can be tempting at a website name for a union organizer to assume that everything is a labor issue, but I mean it when I say that Hollywood's treatment of Bruce Willis over the last few years is a major labor issue. You've probably heard by now that Die Hard star is retiring due to aphasia, a condition that impairs the part of the brain that processes language. After an illustrious career that featured starring roles in movies like Pulp Fiction and The Sixth Sense, Willis had in recent years taken to churning out dozens of low-budget productions. A new Los Angeles Times article revealed just how bad things were on the set of those movies and given the impression the actor was being taken advantage of. And again, if you have somebody carting you around and feeding you lines in your ear, you're a walking puppet at that point. 2 crew members from the upcoming film White Elephant told the Times that Willis asked aloud, "Why am I here?" A crew member said he was just being puppeted. The incidents ranged from relatively benign to potentially dangerous, and I already gave the example of him letting off a blank early, because blanks can be dangerous, for example. Blanks can be dangerous because if they do still have a wadding and powder coming out of there, and even though there isn't the hard piece of metal, the lead, the bullet, whatever, if you put that up close to your head or your face or another part of your body, it can still blow out particles and injure and or kill you. So why were the dozens of people involved in these films so set on working with someone who wasn't cognitively fit to perform? Well, the money, of course. His involvement in films, even for a fleeting few minutes, helped low-budget independent filmmakers set their films internationally, the Times explained. Having Willis's face on a movie poster or a lineup of streaming service thumbnails helped draw viewers to his films. Not his films, the exploiters' films. Seems a tad exploitive, no? I'm no Hollywood insider, but I hope these revelations will spur the industry to work towards safer on-set conditions for workers on and off screens. And of course it won't. Of course it won't. And lastly, again, I try not to talk about politics, but again, when it comes to men being used, men being puppeted around, and this is probably going to make some people mad, but I do want to talk about this. They just had a gala, and this is literally from yesterday, or from today, excuse me. Biden got ignored by Obama at the White House, and it was brutal. Now, we know that Biden's suffering, obviously, with both his speech and some of his cognitive functions, but we're not allowed to talk about it. We don't, it's just kind of a, well, let's just ignore it and keep moving on. And like him or hate him, it's doing an incredible disservice to Joe Biden. It's harmful. And again, it's another guy that's kind of being propped up at this point, to the point to where other people are and not just, conservative pundits, but now a lot of people in the media are making fun of him. Other leaders of nations are making fun of him. And it does, he is the leader of our nation at the moment, or at least he seems to be. Who's pulling the strings behind the scene, we don't know. But not only is it embarrassing for our country, but it's worrying for our country because this is our leader. And on top of that, no one's actually looking out for what's best for Joe. At least I don't think they are. because here, even his own party, the Democrats, ignored him. They say yesterday President Barack Obama made his way back to the White House to mark the 12th anniversary of Obamacare. During his opening statement, he referred to current President Joe Biden as vice president before making formal remarks. Now, of course, it was a joke, but he said, "It's wonderful to be back to say thank you to all of you. But most of all, coming back here gives me a chance to say thank you and spend some time with extraordinary friend and partner who was my side for 8 years, Joe Biden. And I did a lot together. So when President Biden said he was not going to just celebrate the ACA, but announce actions that would make it better, I had to show up." And the part I wanted to talk about here is this particular image. And I'm going to make sure it's muted because it's just, background music. But you can see Biden here, and someone's comparing this to in Pulp Fiction when what's his name? Anyway, the actor, I forget it. I forget what his name is confused and looking around like, I don't know where I am. I'm going to replay this here. And you can see no one's around Biden. He's just kind of looking off into space. He's like, hey, where is everybody? And in the meantime, what they don't show you off camera here to the left, everybody is huddled around Barack Obama. And he's just standing there like no one's around him. And here, again, another video. Biden's standing there and he's trying to get people's attention. They're not even acknowledging he exists. At one point, he puts his hand on Barack Obama's shoulder to get his attention, and he's just completely ignored and blown off. And I'll let this play for a moment so you can see if you're watching. But again, no one is talking to him. No one is looking at him. No one has interest in interacting with him. And this is, and again, you can, whether you like or hate him, that's not the point here. The point is that this is another person that I feel is being exploited. No one's looking out for their best interests, certainly not his wife. And it's interesting to me that I'm seeing more and more of this, not only either in Hollywood or our government and everything else, where now we've got people that are, octogenarians, 80 years old plus, that are still in our government, not getting out, making way for younger people, and they're staying in until they actually are starting to have mental decline. And no one is coming forward and saying, hey, maybe you should, maybe it's time to retire. Maybe it's time to take it easy. Maybe somebody is with Biden. I don't know, but he's still there doing his thing. But they're making fun of him and they're ignoring him. And when it comes to Bruce Willis, I mean, his family had to know when his production schedule is broken down into short hours, when he's getting lines fed into his ear, when he's missing cues, when he's only working a couple hours a day, just a role just big enough to put him on a poster. His family has to know there's a problem. And if he doesn't even know, I mean, literally, like they were saying, when he says, I know why you're here and you're here, but why am I here? I have a hard time believing that he was asking, I want to keep working and I want to be on these film sets and I want to be recording movies. I have a hard time believing that. And so it's just another example of men are only valued for what they give and what they bring and what they provide. But when it comes to actually protecting that man or taking care of that man or looking out for him when he's sunsetting or having struggles or everything else, they don't care. They'll sweep him under the rug. They'll throw him away. They'll just ignore him. I don't have any dating profiles of the day for today because this is not really a topic I wanted to kind of turn around and have a laugh at the end of because I kind of take this stuff seriously. But I'm still looking for about 300 more supporters over on betterbachelor.locals.com for my current supporter drive. I'd like about 300 more. It's $5 a month if you do it monthly, $4 a month if you do it for the year. I'd appreciate some support so that way as YouTube continues to give me a hard time, I can continue to make an income and keep making videos for you guys. Guys, we'll see you next time. Remember, take care of those that are struggling. You know, these guys they're good men. They've given us 40 years of movies. In my case, my father gave me 49 years of being a great father. Take care of these guys as they go into the decline because if we just look at them as their time is done and they're disposable, I think we're doing a very serious disservice to the people that have given much of their lives to us.